he is starting to sound a little bit more like himself. I quite liked it before the game when he was saying, you fall over 6 times, you get up 7. It's just, that's the way football is. He knows that he's just got to get on with it.
Yeah, well, it's more like himself. Again, that sounds slightly ironic, doesn't it? That we don't often hear Pep after defeats, but when we have done, he's congratulating the opposition today, not blaming himself for situations. And I think what he's talked about there, again, similar to what we were saying about the midfield of Aston Villa being so powerful today. And there's a limit to what you can do as a manager, a limit to what you can do as players. And when Aston Villa have got it right, it's made it very difficult. There was a slim chance with the Foden goal right at the end that City might get something out of it, but the best team, or the better team, won today. Yeah,
and as he said, you know, they did manage to get their goal, but it was just too late.
Yeah, well, it was, and then, to be fair, I mean, can they take some confidence out of that? He said about the performance. Yeah, I mean, listen, they're on such a bad run at the moment, and I do believe that they will turn a corner eventually. I really do. But when confidence is that damaging, and you keep turning up to games, and are they just expecting? You touched on the pressing there, you know, and it wasn't good enough. That's what Man City are all about. Man City press high, they make people make mistakes, they worry people, and they didn't do it, and that's what he's alluding to. So, listen, at times, I know it's the old cliche, but do you have to just go back to basics? You know, do you have to be hard to beat? Do you have to be hard to break?
We always say that, don't we, about
but
teams? But Manchester City going back to basics, it seems crazy.
Look at the run they're on. Yeah. What do you do? What do you do to change
it?
Yeah, but define basics. I mean, basic football now is basically what Man City were doing 5 years ago.
Yeah. And Pep doesn't really do basics, does he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, if you're talking about long balls and stuff like that as a basic measure, and one thing with Erling Haaland, and I've only seen him do it once or twice since he's been at Manchester City, is knocking long balls into him is not effective. He still doesn't really know how to use his size and strength adequately enough to be able to take possession of a long ball. A couple of times today the ball goes long and he doesn't win the duels. So basics doesn't work.
I don't necessarily mean basics. I'm on about when I talk about basics, I mean, if they're getting forward, at the times that they were forced out into wide areas, so the likes of Grealish or Bernardo Silva, and basically they end up going back and restarting. So all it's allowing the teams to do, I've watched City over past weeks, and they do it. I know that they do it religiously. They want to keep the ball, they want to try and pass and probe and try and find a way in. But when I mean basics, can the winger get past the fullback, put a cross into the box? Can he do it on that other side? And that's what I'm talking about. Basically, if you can't get through that middle section, which was congested today, how on earth are you meant to get beyond the defence? Wide areas, if they're forcing you in wide areas, why can't you take that basic situation where you're taking on the fullback?
You highlighted at half-time, didn't you, with the poor passing from City?
Yeah.
You know, that long ball which you want to be accurate and in the right position for someone, or Haaland in particular, to run onto, just wasn't there at the first half. So that kind of basics wasn't working. Then you're giving it out to wide players. Haaland's not in a position to receive it because he might be offside. Then has to go back, and just one thing leads to another. And the thing that compounds all this is the fact they're 1-0 down after
early on in the game.
15 minutes, whatever it was. If that doesn't happen, then and I've watched City enough times over years where you go in at half-time 0-0 and you go, OK, fine, that's what they do.
Yeah.
It doesn't look pretty, but that's what they do. And in the second half, they go and win 1-0, 2-0, whatever. Well, when you're 1-0 down and chasing a game, it becomes a very different argument. And what makes it even worse is when you come out second half and the team that you're playing, Aston Villa, actually you're playing better than they were in the first half. It's kind of like, double whammy in a way.